Hi, everybody. How are you all? Thank you so much for joining our conversation today. This is Jerome and I's first conversation with the authors for our new book, Battle of the Sexes, A Beginner's Guide to Understanding the Mind of the Opposite Sex. And we are super excited to be here today to talk a little bit about our book and what we have going on, explain it to you. And this is the first of a few conversations. So first, we're going to start off with just kind of introducing ourselves. If you're watching this, then you probably know exactly who we are. At least you know who one of us is. But my name is Nikki Williams, and I am one of the authors of this book. I am an educator and an artist, and I love all things arts and books and literature and all kind of things like that. I live in Dubai. I'm an international teacher, and that's been really exciting. I've been here for 6 years. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. I'm from Thomasville, Georgia. I'm from South Georgia. And yeah, that's pretty much all about me. So Jerome?
All right, perfect. So thank you for that, Nikki. So my name is Jerome Singleton. I'm the other co-author. I'm an inspiring reality. I'm one of those people who really isn't but does anything to try to get famous. In this book, I'm pretty much going to give you a comedic perspective as well as some formal advice. I promise in no way, shape, or form present myself as the guy, but I promise you I do have some insights. A little bit about myself. I currently reside in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm actually originally from Charleston, South Carolina. And I also in literature my free time, which I'm out in this book, but it's all for your pleasure and enjoyment. So without further ado, time to get into that first chapter.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Jerome. And then also too, just to connect Nikki and Jerome together, we met at the University of West Georgia. And my freshman year, and Jerome, I believe it was your sophomore year. And we just clicked, and we've been friends ever since. So this book is a culmination of many years of friendship, many years of conversations about what goes on in the mind of the opposite sex. So we're super excited to finally get it to you guys. Okay. Okay, so we're going to start off by talking about our first chapter in the book, which is the book of communication. And now we all know how very important communication is. To me, I feel like communication is the most important part of a relationship, because if you are not a good communicator and you don't have good communication skills, then lots of things can be lost in translation, and small things can turn into little things very quickly. So communication is very, very important for us to highlight on. It's probably it may be the longest chapter in the book because of how important communication is. So these are just a few things that I pulled from chapter 1. The one big thing that we talk about is the difference between listening and hearing. We know that there is a difference between the two. And so in the book, we try to make sure to distinguish between the two and to harp on the importance of doing one over the other. So Jerome, I'll let you go ahead and talk about a little bit about what you think about the difference between listening and hearing.
All right, thank you for that, Nikki. So virtually the difference between listening and hearing is just vibrations in one's ear. Listening is actually receiving the message and comprehending it. For example, Nikki, you just explained, we're talking about the book of communication, the difference between listening versus hearing. You said it yourself, hey, communication is very important. Imagine me responding by saying, no, 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 finances is the most important part of relationships. That's why, and let me give you all these reasons as to why finances are the most important part. That's really just grandstanding. I'm not responding to what you actually asked me in that hypothetical situation, and it takes us far off track. And so when we're talking about listening, receive the message, comprehend it, understand the other person's point of view, whether I agree with it or not. And you'll actually see some very good back and forth between Nikki and I during this actual chapter, as well as in subsequent chapters. And so the whole concept is making sure that we're staying on topic, that we're getting this crux argument, because a lot of times when Nikki and I had these debates or have these debates, she's not wrong, nor am I. We just have different opinions. I'm a man, she's a woman. We're not going to see the world in the same context. We have different points of view. And so just understand hearing is vibrations. I hear Nikki, I hear myself, I hear somebody arguing in the parking lot because that's what people do in Vine City. Listening. What are we going to talk about when it comes to the book of communication? What is the difference between vibrations in my ear and actually understanding and comprehending what's going on? And oftentimes, a very important part of listening is, like I just said, don't grandstand, but also being willing and wanting to hear the other person's point of view. Sometimes men and women, we become so egocentric that we believe we're always right in this situation. No, this is exactly how it happened. Yes, we may both have been in the exact same arena, in the exact same room, but we experienced that moment differently. So that's the difference between listening and hearing.
That's good, Jerome, and I totally agree. I piggyback off of exactly what you're saying. When you hear something, it's just what always happens. You hear, like you said, you hear yourself, you hear me. I can hear someone talking to me, but I may not actually be listening. Okay, we experience this a lot, maybe in class. Okay, I told you me and Jerome met in college. I know a lot of times we may have been sitting in class listening to what the professor said. I mean, hearing what the professor said, right. But not actually listening. Okay. I hear him up there talking, but I'm not really listening. Okay. Because if he asked me what he was talking about, I would not be able to regurgitate it. So, right. So it's important to know the difference between the two. When you're actually listening, you have you're intentionally trying to understand. Okay, there's like different parts to listening. You hear them, but you're also trying to intentionally understand what exactly their argument is or where their point is coming from, because if not, things can really, small things can turn into big things really quickly if you're not just listening. It's so simple to actually listen, and listen to understand, not listen to respond. Because if you're just trying to respond and just trying to defend your position on something, then you're not ready to have the conversation at all. And it's easy to do that as well, because as people, we are prideful. We all have a bit of pride, and when we do things, we think we're doing the right thing. So if you come to me and say, no, that actually wasn't the right thing, or I didn't receive it the way that you were trying to deliver it, I may automatically jump on the defense. That's not productive either. So actually listen to your partner and understand what they're trying to convey. And like Jerome said, you may come to the conclusion that you just don't agree. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine to agree to disagree. But I may not agree with you, but I can understand why you feel the way that you felt. And the only way to come to that conclusion is to actually listen to your partner, you know? Okay, so yeah, so that's really important. Anything else on the difference between listening and hearing, Jerome?
Yes, one challenge I need to, or I want to extend to our readers as they're reading through chapter one, there are sections where I'm talking, where Nikki's talking, and oftentimes I'll interject in Nikki's situation or her section just because that's what I do as a ratchet person. And so I challenge you to see which one of my interjections was I actually listening to Nikki, and which ones was I just hearing. Like in this section, you actually asked a question like, "Hey, she's had a long day. She comes home. Option A, B, and C. Which one is the most appropriate action for a man?" And me, as somebody who was just hearing you, I picked the worst response. I'm like, man, eat this cold pizza, heat it up, go to sleep, wake up tomorrow. It was completely wrong. And you'll see what I mean when you actually read the book. So definitely you can actually pinpoint in the book like times like, oh yeah, Jerome, listen to Nikki on that one. And I sound very intelligent at that point. And it's like, nah, he's a moron. He was just hearing her completely wrong when he responded. So yeah, that's all I really have to say on as a synopsis or conclusion to listening versus hearing.
And that's a really good point, Jerome. I'm glad that you brought that up. That's another thing that we can point out to our readers to look out for. This is an interactive book. Me and Jerome wrote this together. So, we wrote separately, but then we actually came together to put it together. We actually shared the document with one another. So it's not like we just came at the end and tried to make it fit. No, we actually came together in the process and made it together. So there are interjections. There are times I interject as well. There are times that he interjects. There's a lot of humor in the book. But through the humor, there are real facts that are really applicable to your relationship. So yeah, that was a good point, Jerome, to bring up the interjection. Okay, so that's good on listening and hearing. So in this chapter, another thing that we have, as you can see on the screen, is a chart. Now, in the book, we have made lots of charts, okay, because we are both those type of people who can see things more easily when we put them on a chart, okay? As an educator, Jerome is a money man. We need it plain and simple. So one of the charts that we have in chapter 1 is what he said, what he meant, and what she understands, and how her soul feels. Now, this was a very important chart because I think we know, especially as women, we know that he may say something out of his mouth and we may hear something completely different. And that's just a natural thing that happens. I'm not saying nothing is wrong with it, but as a woman, we have to say, yes, that is right. We have to take the loss on that one and say, yes, that is right. We could be better communicators by actually listening to what he's saying. So, Jerome, I'll let you take the reins on this one because I believe you created this chart. And yeah, let's talk a little bit about it.
Yes, and so to set the context for this table, as well as the tables that you'll see in chapter 1, one of the main differences between men and women, and this is why we struggle to communicate at times, men, we tend to be a lot more direct when we communicate. Women are much more indirect. I actually took a course called Gender Communication my freshman year of college and explained that women tend to use meta messages. And that's why I'll say something very direct, as you'll see in this chart, and it'll get lost in translation. When I said I'm working late, I literally was just working late on finances, stressing, trying to figure out a new career. This reality TV star bid, it probably isn't going to work out. So maybe I want to go be an astronaut. I don't know. But I was literally just working late. What she understood, he's having an affair, because a lot of men, we know, we've actually used that. She was, yeah, I'm working late. But then I get my check and it's actually lower this month than it was last month because I really wasn't working late. And so I understand why that is her initial response. It's the same with the gym comment. Like, I'm literally like, I like to go running. I try to do push-ups. I'm not very good at them, but I do try. It's the effort that counts. And do not judge me on YouTube or wherever you're watching this. And so I like to go gym. So I asked her, hey, she want to go to the gym. But oftentimes when that is presented to a woman, she takes it as, okay, this man is trying to say something about my weight and he's indirectly calling me fat, which is not speaking. I'm talking about heterosexual relationships, men versus women, or men with women communicating. Both sides have to have that baseline understanding. That way, man, we can adjust it to say, I'm working late because it's month end closing or quarter end or year end closing. Would you like to go to the gym with me? Because exercising is very fun. Like, there's all these different methods to actually exercise. It's not always lifting weights or running. Some people just want to do sit-ups. Some people just want to mess around on some of the various machines. There's something in there for everybody, and it is a good stress reliever. And that's a better way to preference it versus just coming out with a very direct statement. Would you like to go to the gym? Because she's going to take that wrong. And I understand why. Hey, I'm working late. She's going to take that wrong. Mm-hmm. The marriage one, we just going to take an L on that, guys. If you don't believe in marriage, you don't believe in marriage. Ladies, I know you don't believe this. It's understood. Once again, we just have an understanding that we just disagree on this point. Some men just don't believe in marriage. I don't know those men. I just don't believe in monogamy. All right, Nikki, it's on you.
Okay, so yes, I agree with that. I love definitely
even to not believing in monogamy.
Yeah, that's true. Jerome. But no, yes, I agree with this whole chart. When Jerome came with this chart and I read this in his section, I laughed to myself because I knew it was true. And as a woman, which is why we battle of the sexes, I understand. It was good that he understands that when he says something, it may translate very different for us. So yes, I'm working late tonight. What you doing? Okay, because you ain't working late every night, and bring home the bacon if you was working late at night. Okay, I didn't see that check go up. You don't seem very tired. Why are you working so late? What's happening? The believing in marriage. He doesn't want to be in a serious relationship with me. I mean, that's just how I would take that. Okay. However, just because he doesn't want to be in a marriage and be married to someone doesn't mean that he doesn't want to have an actual serious relationship with you. So, and then the gym thing is a definite, okay? That is a definite. I think every woman has felt like that before. And guys like to go to the gym, okay? So if he asks you to go to the gym, ladies, that doesn't mean he thinks anything is wrong with you. He just likes to go to the gym and wants to include you in something that he likes to do. Okay. Or maybe he does think you can lose a few pounds, and that's fine. But instead of aggressively saying you need to lose weight, you're too fat, he's saying, hey, let's do it. Come to the gym with me. So that's a good thing too. That's a good way to be an effective communicator, the way that he would put that. So this chart is very accurate. There's lots of other examples that we could use as far as what men say and what women actually hear. And I think in the chapter, I think there may be another one where it's what women say and what men actually understand. So women, a lot of times we say something, we mean something different, but the man he understands what we actually said, right? So I may say, I don't know what I want to have. I don't know what I want to eat for dinner. And what I really mean is, I need you to figure you're supposed to know what I want to eat for dinner. But what he heard was she don't know what she want to eat. So now I'm all upset because you were supposed to understand that you were supposed to decide. But but it doesn't always work out like that. So it's very important. It's so important that we have a clear understanding. You have a clear understanding with your partner. And two, I think this comes with, just experiences, or how mature your relationship is, how long you've been with that person. Because in the beginning, of course, you don't know. Of course, you're assuming things, but the longer you're with someone, then the more you're able to understand. If he says I'm working late, then he's literally working late. But in the beginning stages, you may not know, so you just assume. So yeah, so those are two big things from that chapter, from in chapter 1. Anything else that you want to touch on in chapter 1, Jerome, with communication?
Yes, oh yes, definitely, Nikki. And we do give like some free game in this book as well on chapter 1. So with the I'm working late comment, if he's being honest, like not cheating, he's working late, he's going to work late around the same cycle. So for me, like working in accounting and finance, that's actually what I do for a living, besides aspire to be like a reality TV star. So in accounting finance, I'm telling you, the first week of the month, I'm working late. It's something called month end closing, like clockwork. Any other time, I'm going to be home at like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, whatever the case may be. But that's when I'm working late. And ladies, that should be consistent. And men, it's the same with women and being indirect. If she asks you, are you hungry? She's never asking you, are you hungry? She's saying that she's hungry. She wants to go out to eat. She wants you to make her some food, so on and so forth. So we do get those translations in there, and we try to clear up some of the more constant miscommunications that happen between men and women. And so we are giving you free game in this section because some of them is just universal. It's no disputing what she's actually saying. And so one of the ones that I like the most is when she asks a man, do you know that woman? Fellas, we know that woman. We're never going to admit to it, but we know her. And so what are we going to do? We're going to, that woman's 6 months pregnant, got my child. I don't know why she keep looking over here. I don't know. It's like, man, argument. If she keep looking and he keep looking away, keep pointing at, I mean, you know what it is at that point. And so we just clear some of the misnomers when it's like just constant miscommunication, and we try to give you free game on that one as well in this section.
That's true. And I want to just stick a little bit to international relationships or those multicultural relationships, because when I wrote this book, I was single. I'm now in a relationship with somebody who is not particularly from my culture. He's from Kenya. And so communication was such a big thing for us. This stood out to me even more, being in a relationship with somebody who was from a different culture, because communication was the only thing we would argue about. It was difficult to understand that he may not understand things that I'm saying and I don't understand, and not literally, like I can literally understand him, but I'm just saying if he says something, it may be interpreted a little bit different, or he may interpret it something I may say different. But if we were from the same culture, then he would understand. Okay, like an example is, I may say, I don't care. Like to that question, what do you want to eat tonight? And I say, I don't care. Literally, that means I don't care. You can bring pizza, you can bring chicken, you can bring whatever you bring. I'll eat whatever you bring. But to him and his culture, it was interpreted as you don't want to talk about it right now. You don't care about this conversation. It was taken negatively. And so small things like that would turn into big things. Like I said before, small things turn into big things if the precedent for communication is not set. So that's just something else that I could add to the conversation, being with somebody who's from a different culture. And I would think, because both of our skin is black, okay, I would think that it wouldn't be too much of a difference in communication. But no, there was a huge difference in communication, and something that we still work on to this day. So anybody who may be dealing with somebody who may not be from their culture, that's something that I'm sure that you all are working through. So yeah, so that's the book of communication. That's book one, or chapter one in the book. So we're gonna move on. We stayed on task. We were within our 20 minutes. So we'll move on to chapter two. Oh, chapter two, social media. Okay. So what we have on the screen is 5 of the 10 commandments that Jerome created for social media. And I'm going to, let's see them all. Yep. I'm going to let you, Jerome, read them and kind of discuss what you were thinking. Actually, I'll read them and then you can just tell us what you were thinking when you created them. So the first one is, thou shalt not shoot his shot online if you wouldn't shoot it in person. Okay. The second commandment is, thou shalt only satisfy his thirst with water. Commandment 3, thou shalt not click like on all of her photos. Commandment 4, thou shalt not follow her on all her social media platforms. And commandment 5, thou shalt receive the bag without posting the bag. Okay. All right, Jerome. So I'm going to turn it over to you. Tell us what you were thinking when you created those commandments.
Woo! This first one, fellas, I'm trying to tell you, man. Do not slide in all these women DMs and say comments to them. And we talk about this at length in the book of social media that you would never say to her in person. You ain't walking up to no woman on the street, say DTF, which means down to insert curse word right here. You ain't just walking up to a woman on the street and showing her a picture of your private part. It's just not happening. But yet we get online and we find this false sense of confidence to just approach these women, which we're not even really approaching. We're just like clicking send on a direct message and say some of the most outlandish comments. I was just talking to somebody yesterday and she was showing me an inbox from a man that she curved and said it. Curved just means rejected. It's like, bro, it's okay. She didn't want you. Life goes personally, so he would never say that to her in person. And so verse 1 saying in first commandment, how you would approach a woman in person, that's how you should approach that woman online. It should be the same in consistent energy. Second commandment, very self-explanatory. I know a lot of people are desperate. It's okay. Do not go on social media just acting a fool. This is the men and women. Like so many pictures that are just being posted, they make no sense. Like they're not being posted just to keep us updated about one's life and see how everything's going. It's January. It's freezing outside. Why am I seeing pictures of people in Georgia? Mind you, in Georgia, just a couple of weeks ago, it was literally 16 degrees, posting bikini pictures. These pictures are from when? From how long ago? It's just some people are overly infatuated with the attention, and it's not the right attention that they're actually going to bring to themselves, because individuals will post pictures like that, and then when they get the wrong type of men in their DMs, they look around like, how did this happen? I mean, that's what you put out there, that's what you're going to attract. And just not to skip too far ahead, when we're talking about the fifth commandment, it's the exact same with men, like trying to post money or present a lavish lifestyle that they're not actually living. Like we were talking about this recently, Nikki. There's somebody who is facing eviction, but yet this person is on vacation right now in Miami. This person has just bought a brand new vehicle, but is 6 months past due on said person's rent. Once again, trying to portray this lifestyle to attract the wrong people. And by wrong people, I mean people that are very superficial, people who don't want to get an intimate understanding of you or a deep understanding of you. Third commandment, please, fellas, stop going through her Instagram and liking all of her pictures. If she didn't reach out to you after you like the first picture, she's not going to reach out to you. Lacking 99 more is not going to help. It's very annoying and it's kind of alarming and concerning. Like she needs to block you and get a restraining order, in my opinion. Fourth commandment, right on the same tip, restraining order. What she's posting on Instagram, what she's posting on Twitter, Snapchat, so on and so forth, there's not a lot of variation. So why do some men feel this infatuation with following this woman on all of her social media platforms to really get an update of every waking moment of her life is beyond concerning. And so these are just the first of the 10 commandments. And so I just want to give some baseline guidelines to how individuals should carry themselves online, because right now it's just a free for all. Like it's bad out there.
Yeah, that's good, Jerome. And once again, when I read this, when this came across and I read it in Jerome's section, it was dead on. It was spot on. I think as a woman, we experience a lot of these things. That third commandment, thou shalt not like all of her pictures. Listen, when I pick up my phone and I'm like, 50 notifications. You just done like pictures from 2017. You done been all back, okay, liking stuff with pictures of me and my mama. You just all in my pictures, child. It's a lot. It's a lot. One like, just like the most recent. If you just gotta like something, when I post something, then like it. Okay. But yeah, that definitely is a turn off when you liked every single one of my pictures. Don't follow her on all social media platforms. Secure the bag without posting the bag. Like Jerome said, we know a lot of people who do that. A lot of people who post, an imaginary life just to create something for social media. But we all know that that's not really the life that they're living. And then the first commandment, don't shoot your shot, okay, online if you're not going to shoot it in person. And to what you said, Jerome, it's not even just about shooting your shot. It's about the way that you do it, because people can be so vulgar or just, get real bold behind the computer screen, but wouldn't do it in real life. Go ahead, Jerome.
Exactly. And we actually have a part in the chapter where we talk about the half court shot, the 3-point shot, and the layup. And so it's an analogy that we use to describe these 3-point shots. That's the DTF message. That's the what that mouth do message. That's all these vulgar terms that we can't even elaborate on this platform as to what those really mean. That's the half court shot method. Like it's not going to work. Like the shooting percentage is very low. So then you go to 3-point shot. Hey, it's more gratifying, but it's more strategic, in which in that case the ultimate goal is probably still to have sex with that woman, but it's more of a, hey, let's just try to set something up, let's hang out, quote unquote, Netflix and chill. That's really the 3-point shot. And then you get the layup, which is virtually, let's set something up to get very close to the goal. Like if you've ever played basketball or watched basketball, you understand a layup. You're standing very close to the actual goal in the rim. And so you have a better percentage chance of scoring than the 3 point or the half point shot. And so, hey, you reach out to the young lady, express interest in her, ask her for a phone number. And if she gives it to you and agrees, then you actually go hang out with this individual in person on 1 date, 2 date, 3 dates, or however many days y'all choose to go on. It's like, I understand that online is a avenue to actually meet people, and I'm all for it, especially relationships, so on and so forth. But ultimately, that bond, and you spoke about this at length, Nikki, like the actual in-depth understanding of the person, it can't come through the computer screen. Like me and Nikki, we couldn't have wrote this book if we only knew each other via the internet. Like we had to have met in college. We had to have hung out on several different occasions, had to form that bond. We understand each other so we can make this possible. And that's where I'm really getting at when we're talking about don't be shooting shots online. You ain't gonna shoot that shot in person. Women go outside all the time. And I mean, they look at their phone, they got likes, followers, everything. They walk around for 8 hours a day. Not one man is going to tell them they're beautiful in person. Very few men are actually going to approach them, but they're looking at their phone and saying, but I got all these DMs and messages saying I'm gorgeous and wonderful, but you know, I'm out here. And there's actually, don't take my advice for it, there's actually women who have posted videos on all these different platforms complaining about what I'm talking about here. They're walking around, but I'm not seeing that in person. Like I'm so beautiful, I got 100 likes, 150 likes, however many likes, but I don't have a husband or a man or whatever. And so that's what I'm really getting at. Just have that same energy, that same approach. That's what I'm really getting at.
That's very true. That's very true. And two, if you're in a relationship, don't let social media ruin your relationship. Social media has ruined almost every relationship that I have been in because it's so easy to get wrapped up in the social media world or be interacting inappropriately with people on social media when you are in a relationship. And that don't let it ruin your relationship. It literally, and I tell people this all the time, I'm like, social media will ruin your relationship. Example, if I'm calling you and texting you and you're not responding, but I see that you're online liking people pictures, doing lives, all these things, that's a problem for me. And it's going to be a conversation. And it's not about me trying to run your social media or tell you what to do, but it's just inappropriate and it's rude and it's disrespectful. If I'm messaging you, I'm trying to reach out to you and you're not responding to me, but you're on social media doing lives and responding to the people in the lives, that's a problem. So let's be sure that we're not doing those types of things because it ruins relationships and it doesn't look good. It just don't look good. So yeah, so that's social media, something I'm very passionate about because like I said, social media has ruined almost all of my relationships. So let's make sure that we focus on that chapter, guys, because there's lots of tips in there. Once again, we're giving lots of free game on how to not let social media ruin your relationship and how to behave on social media so that you may get a relationship and not scare somebody away because you like their pictures 1,000 times and now they got to put a restraining order out against you.
Exactly. And so also when we speak about it in the book of social media, it's because I can hear the pushback, and I put it in the book as well. I can hear the pushback. Well, just because I'm following or just because I'm posting, so on and so forth, that don't mean, and you're absolutely correct, that doesn't mean. But all I can go off of is what you present to me. When you're watching the video and you're determining if you're going to buy the book, you don't know me, you don't know Nikki, but all you can go off of is what you see. So ladies, if I see a bunch of half-naked pictures on your social media, what do you expect me to think of you? To the men, if I see pictures of whatever activity you're involved in, flashing money, hey, what do you expect me to think? Like, I really can't feel bad for you if somebody tries to come after you. I really can't feel bad if people are constantly coming to you for money, asking you for money, and you just been flaunting this lifestyle as if you got it to just give. when we're looking and thinking about social media and the content that we follow, I can tell you, ladies, this ain't my opinion. If he follows something called a menace, which is it's like a men's right movement. So if you know what a feminist is, like they're for the equality of all people and it's led by women. There are menace that like, hey, our rights are being encroached upon by these women who are now presenting demands, and we're gonna fight for men's rights. Ladies, if you choose to date him, I mean, you get what you get. That doesn't mean he's a menace, but obviously, if he's following that type of criteria, if he's overly indulging in the rest in peace godfather of the manosphere, if he talk to you crazy when you make a mistaken relationship, I mean, you signed up for what you signed up for. It just is what it is because that is going to have an influence on us. I can't sit there and just binge on red pill content. That's like the manosphere and virtually, no offense to red pill, it is what it is. When you see me, you can address me, but virtually a lot of these men, they've obviously never had a woman in their life because some of the stuff they say is just outlandish. With that being said, I mean, I act like a chauvinist. I mean, what did you expect? I'm sitting here on YouTube all day, 8 hours, 10 hours, just content. Men are the prize. Men are always right. A woman's place is in the kitchen. That's what I mean when we say watch the content that the person is following, because that will give you some insight into, at the bare minimum, their interests, their passions. And that's an important part of social media because some people get God on social media and I'm like, I go through their page, I'm like, what were you thinking? Like,
Yeah,
for real.
yeah, that's so true.
It makes no sense. Like every quote, none of his quotes are by anybody that actually gives, not to talk politics. If he was there cheerleading, yeah, we're restricting women's reproductive rights. Ladies, what are you doing talking to this man? Regardless of his personal opinions, he's commenting on something that is none of his business. Because last time I checked, we didn't have any type of reproductive organisms that allowed us to carry children and bear children. So that's just free game on that one when we're talking about the book of social media. And like we get free game in every chapter, but that's some more free game right there. Like don't underestimate what he's following or what she's following.
Yeah, that's true. That's so true, Jerome. Well, guys, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up this episode because we don't have the proceeds from the book yet. So we got the free version of Zoom. When we get the proceeds, we'll upgrade to the better version so we can talk a little bit longer. But this is just a short conversation we wanted to have about the first 2 chapters of the book. The picture that you saw on our PowerPoint presentation is the cover of the book, okay? And that will be available to you February 14th, Valentine's Day, okay? What a fitting day to put out a book about relationships and understanding the mind of the opposite sex. So we thank you guys so much for tuning in. We hope that you made it to the end of this conversation. We'll be back in a few weeks with another conversation about the next 2 chapters of the book. And we will also have a special guest on that episode so we can have an even deeper conversation about the things that we talk about in the book. And anything else before we wrap up, Jerome?
If we're releasing on Valentine's Day, we might as well just call it like, "Why are you single?" And that should just be the title.
I call it that too.
Why are you lonely? You keep sending DTF messages, bruh. You Valentine's is gonna be awful day. Why she ain't responding, bruh? You think you the only person that doesn't send a picture of your private parts to this woman? Come on, man.
You're not,
Just,
and we don't like it. So stop.
that's all I wanted to say.
It does
That's
not
all I
encourage
wanted to say.
anything besides us to block you. So please stop. Okay, well, sounds good. Thank you, Jerome, for joining in and having this conversation. And we'll see you guys next time. Thank you.
See y'all later.